Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Look into its eyes. It sees what we can't. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Look into its eyes. It sees what we can't. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Look into its eyes. It sees what we can't. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Look into its eyes. It sees what we can't. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Look into its eyes. It's
Good morning. Welcome back again for another live stream, the second for this week. The date today is the 10th of the second month, 2026, which is February, and today is Tuesday, the second trading day of this week. As you know, yesterday was Monday. Our expectations was really low yesterday. Not that exciting of a day as usual. And also it's CPI and NFP this week. So yesterday we was really cautious and not expecting much. But we're back here again for another day, the second trading day of this week, and it's really when we're looking to kick things off. Right? So let's just start right here on the daily to see the direction. That's actually my first time opening the chat for the morning. So we are seeing the same thing and also no perspective yet in terms of direction. I have an idea, but it's my first time opening the chat for the day. All right, so let's see what price is looking like here. So as you know, we've been looking at that daily fair value gap that I'm looking at right here, that blue shaded area, that daily CV, sell side imbalance, buy side inefficient. And you can see yesterday's trading Monday pretty much was a bullish day where price traded up into it and into the upper part of it, reaching inside of that volume imbalance here. Another level that we've been looking at from Sunday, from our weekly market analysis, was looking at that down close candle, which is order block that we are paying attention to as well for this week, seeing if price want to trade up into that order block here. So that is what I'm looking at here, right? Seeing if price would want to turn around from here or will we spike up into that order block. And when we reach there, I want to see how price trades once we reach in that area there. So that is what I'm looking at from a daily perspective. My attention really is at this order block here, right? Now let's drop down into the 4 hour, and on the 4 hour, what I'm looking at is currently where price is trading at. We're trading inside of this BC, buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency, or fair value gap, right? So we would label that 4 hour fair value gap. We have that 4 hour fair value gap, and we want to pay attention to that, looking to see if that would act as a means to send price higher. So that is what we're looking at here, right? Seeing if that would act as a means to send price higher into the order block right here, and also inside of, well, we have this fair value gap that was not traded into. So we want to see if price want to make its way there. But our first initial target would be the order block here, which rests at this black line that you're seeing here. So that is initially what we have our attention towards. Right, and then right here we would have this buy side liquidity resting just above it on the 1 hour. So on the 1 hour, you can see we have a correlation of two PD areas in alignment with each other. So we have this 4 hour, this 1 hour fair value gap being instead of a 1 hour fair value gap. And so far, we're seeing institutional order flow entry where price is using the upper half of it. That is predicament, or that is perfect to see if we're in a bullish market. You want to see price stay in the upper portion of the PD areas. So in that case, we really want to see how price trades in that vicinity here. Will we use it as support, as I mentioned, to go higher into that order block and even beyond, or would we see a fall of the bed? Let's just observe. Down to the 15, not much on the 15. Price pretty much being in a range. But what I would look at on the 15 is this relatively equal lows that was left here. So that seems like London lows. I will just confirm just a moment. Right, so not London lows. But I'm looking at this relatively equal lows here. And then of course I would have my eyes at the highs as well. Either one, let's see where the market want to gravitate towards. In the 5 minute. Right, so London highs are already ticking up. So we want to see if price want to go for that relatively equal highs that I just annotated there. These highs here. And my attention would be at this relatively equal lows. Alright, so let's see where price opens at the opening bell. Let me just go ahead and mark out my midnight opening price to gauge our premium and discount of this trading day. So the midnight opening, so we're above the midnight opening. Midnight would be bearish, so right here. So that's our midnight open that I'm marking up now, midnight opening price. And then we'll also want the 8:30 opening price. $8:30. Alright, so market isn't opening, we are in a premium market, so we are above the midnight open and also above the 8:30 open. And as you know, if it's in a bearish day, then that's what we want to see. Your best sales would happen above those prices, and in a bullish day, your best buys would happen beneath those prices. So currently we're in a premium market based on the midnight open and the 8:30 open. So right here we'll just see how the opening range gap opens. Most likely we have a premium opening range gap. With the premium opening range gap, you know for sure then our bias for the first 30 minutes of trading would be bearish, with a 70% chance that price trades back into midpoint of the opening range gap or consequent encroachment. So let's just observe, let's just sit on our hands until the opening bell, which is in a couple minutes, about 5 minutes or 4 minutes and some seconds. So let's see what happens then. So I'm not doing nothing as yet. Right, so sorry about that. I stayed a little bit longer than expected. I came out and just do something real quick and I got stuck. But here we was waiting on the opening bell, and you can see the opening bell traded higher. Nonetheless, we didn't really have any entry opportunity, so I don't really miss anything. But let's see exactly how the so we didn't have an open range gap to be exact. So we had a really small open range gap, nothing that exciting. So it's pretty much fine. But I'm looking at the relatively equal lows that we was looking at. Let's see if that would get targeted. Anytime from now, those lows should be met. So let's see. We have our first presented fair value gap. Remember, when you have such a small opening range gap, you tend to have a lackluster opening range, or not that of an exciting opening range. So let's see what happens here. So we have our first presented fair value gap. Let's see what happens if price do trade up into that area. But again, my eyes is at the relatively equal lows that we mentioned from the start of the session. So let's see if that can be reached. So let's see what happens here. So price traded up into that first presented fair value gap. Let's see if you want to trade away from it and use it as a means to go much lower. It happened quick. So let me just look at some levels. So I'm watching the ES as well. So I want to see price trade down into use the opening range, the first presented fair value gap, sorry, as a means to trade down lower. So I'm just watching the. So you have the. So you could see that first presented fair value gap being used there rather nicely. So let's see if our first target of these relatively equal lows will be met. All right, perfect, right there. First target met of the relatively equal lows. Now let's see how much lower price can want to gravitate from there. So you can see the ranges is getting a bit big. But that right here was the sell opportunity, but it happened so quick that you didn't get to enter in it. But let's see what happens here. Here we have yesterday's first presented gap. That could be a draw. So that would be Monday. Let's see. Let's observe. Looking at that gap here. So I'm just shifting through the different assets. And I'm looking at price action here. I don't just want to sell that blindly because we're inside of that 4-hour gap as well. We can easily trade higher from here. So that's what I'm paying attention to. So my eyes would go at the highs, the buy side that I mentioned earlier. Those highs resting here. So that initial high right here, I would have my eyes at this initial buy side. After taking relatively equal lows and tapping into a higher time frame array. So let's see if that can become an inversion gap. And I'll go ahead and split my screen just in the event that I have to execute. Alright, so on the right I have my micro contract. So let's see here. Let's see if that inversion gap would get created that I have in white. Let's see what price wants to do here. But my eyes would go to the initial buy side as mentioned from 930. If I do buy, we want to stick price up to that area. So let's observe. Until then, I'm still sitting on my hands, not doing anything. But you can see price is definitely respecting that suspension block or fair value gap. So I'd want to see price stay in the lower half of that gap if we are to trade lower. I don't want to see price come back into the upper half. In that half here, which I would put in yellow, I don't want to see price come back up there. So I'm just shifting between the ES and the NASDAQ. So I don't get the best feel there. That was a terrible feel. So that was a terrible feel, but I sell there on the immediate rebalance back into the order block. So let's see if price can drop from here. That was a terrible feel. So that wasn't the best feel. And I'm just trying to reduce my stop so I can get a better stop placement. But at the same time, I don't want to stifle the position. So yeah, that was a terrible feel, really, really terrible feel. I lose way more than I expected there. Way, way, way more. So I buy there, using that as an inversion gap. And that will be the last one for me for the day. So that here was definitely not the best opportunity. Didn't have to buy here. Didn't have to sell here actually. That was a bit impulsive. And that went against the bias or the narrative that we had. But I've been here on bias, and that would be the last opportunity. So let's see what happens here. So I'm looking at this area here that should act as a catalyst to send price higher. We have a breaker block inside the inversion gap and also a fair value gap. So I want to see that carry price to the upside. I want to see price trade through the first presented fair value gap. And again, on that first position, I lose way more than I anticipated or than I expected. It was a terrible feel, but it's all right. Let's see if we can recover here with that position. As mentioned, I want to see price trade through that first presented gap, which is the red area. We want to see price trade through that and not be used as support. So that was initially the trade that I had to take. We're in a discount market, tapping instead of a high time frame period. It makes sense to take that position, but it is what it is, and let's see if we can get that recovered here. Things do happen. So my target is the initial highs, and as mentioned, I want to see that become an inversion gap. And for this trade, I'm going the full position. I'm not taking partials on it. All right, so I want to see that act as an inversion gap. To trade higher. So you want to see that first presented fair value gap act as an inversion. And just above here would be 100 points, so we should recoup our loss once we get the full position and still make significant amount of profit. So I roll my stop up and put it into profit. Because I want to see price blast over the highs here. So I want to see price trade above the highs and displace higher. So my stop is in profit. And I'm looking at the highs here. I want to see price displace above this high. And again, the full position of this should recoup our previous loss and also put us into a decent amount of profit. But that was initially the position. The buy was a bit impulsive. The buy opportunity wasn't the best. Not the buy, sorry, the sell. That the sell was a bit impulsive. But nonetheless, we should get that recoup here. And let's just see if that target would be met. But I want to see price start displacing above these highs here. So the initial buy side, that's the target. That's where my eyes is at. Let's see if we can get that target met. So let's see here. Price is a bit stagnated. So I sold 3, I take a partial. And now I have 2 on, which I would leave as runners. So let's see if we can get the full pool here on that. So in close proximity to the buy side, we want to see the displace above it. And then we'll see how far up we can get, how much we can how much we can cream it. My stop is just under this. So you see price is just playing around the highs there. Let's see if we can get a displacement above the high anytime from now to grab those buy side. But you can see the ES is actually stronger. If you look at the ES is at the highs, pretty much took the highs. So we have a SMT at the highest there, but I want to see NQ catch up. I would like to see NQ catch up. But yeah, that force loss on the sells was definitely wasn't it. That wasn't a smart idea that I made there, but it's all right, and it is what it is. We regroup most of it in that position now, so that's perfect. Let's see if we can get price run the highest now. We'll see if this candle can displace higher. It's just in close proximity. Alright, so I'll run my stop up even more. Let's see if we can get that full. Okay, perfect. Perfect. And that's it for today. Rather nice. That's it. And that's the trade for today. So if I were to just share my screen here, on full screen, so you can see we sold here. That was a bit impulsive, and that wasn't. But again, I'm happy that we were able to recoup that loss. But that wasn't. I was just looking at that displace here, inversion suspension block. Price was respecting it rather nice, and then we had that immediate rebalance where price traded into that other block here. So I was like, okay, let's see if we can continue pressing lower. And that is why I entered here, but the feel was terrible and I get a really bad stop loss. So I'll look at it, and then the stop loss was actually the buy opportunity that we was looking at all the time. Sell side taken, tap into a higher time frame, 1 hour fair value gap. Being discount, it just makes sense that we buy. So that sale here was a mistake on my end, and we didn't. It was a bit impulsive, so I hold myself accountable for that here. But we were able to recoup that loss and still make some profits. So I'm happy with that. And that would be it for today's trading. So that is it pretty much. If I let me just show the fact that we did enter. So that's where I take the loss here. I entered on 8 micros. I take the loss and then we buy right here and we exited. We take a partial here of 3 and then we exit the full position here. So all in all, that is really nice. I'm satisfied with that performance. And that's it for today. I'm not sure if that's it for the week. I would not be live tomorrow because I have an event to attend to, a training session to attend to. So I would not be going live tomorrow, but we'll be back here hopefully on Thursday, if not Friday. But keep in mind we have CPI at the later part of the week, also NFP, so I'm not really having high expectations. But all in all, I'm satisfied with the performance despite our slight mistake and impulsive reaction. I'm satisfied with our performance here today. So that being said, that would be the end of the stream, and good week and good trading. Stay safe.